V-ați băgat în pat, dragilor?
Asta numesc eu sperietură. Pricepeți?
Take something bad and make something good out of it.
We have a dimensional portal. It leads to a parallel world.
You belong here with us.
Run it for me.
It's never been done before. You need planning, a large crew.
One of the biggest jewelry heists in history.
Lucrative and highly dangerous. You gotta be nuts.
Why do this?
Why not do it? Exactly.
Cele mai mari vedete de la Hollywood în cele mai bune filme cu jafuri.
I have a question.
Luni de jaf cu Oceans. Lunea la 20:30 la Warner TV. De data aceasta cu Oceans 11. Faceți jocurile!
Yeah, I was born on West 68th Street in Manhattan. A lot of people think I've come from Brooklyn, but no, I'm one of the true native New Yorkers. I was born in an apartment on West 68th Street, 250. Everyone else in the family was born in a hospital but me. So I really felt I lacked something early on, but you know what? It was a great experience for me. I loved it. I see that place every so often, once in a while. I took great pride in being from New York. For the first 10 years of my life that I lived in New Jersey, I resented the fact that I lived in New Jersey, and people would ask me, where are you from? I would say New Jersey, and then rightly say New York City. But it's New Jersey, and I knew early on that I loved New York. You know, that stereotypical thing, if you're Italian, you come from, you know, you're soprano land, whatever, and certainly that's not me. I like to think of myself as an educated Italian. You know what I mean? Heterosexual, educated Italian. Not that there's anything wrong with the other kind, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I think, you know, someone somewhere on the internet today, the information age, they put down that I'm from Brooklyn, and I never bothered to contest it, and apparently it's gone all through the internet. And there's no way that I can tell them I'm not from Brooklyn. I never lived in Brooklyn. I wouldn't know how to get from one street to another in Brooklyn. I'm a Manhattanite. That's where I was born. Now I live in Saddle River. Much of my informative years, I would say, was in the Bronx, and I was never really permitted to get on the L structure or the train to downtown because it was considered very dangerous to travel that far. And unfortunately, my children, who I later have, suffered the same problem that I had. I had no trust in the city. I thought someone would get hurt, you know, and I wouldn't allow my kids to go downtown by themselves unless I was with them. I wouldn't allow them to go ice skating on the ice unless I was with them. I wouldn't allow them to go rowboating unless I was with them. But as I began to go into the city of Manhattan, or the borough of Manhattan, I began to love it and realize how safe it truly is and how wonderful it is to be a part of. I mean, working in New York City was, as an actor, it was extraordinary for me. Because I was able to fall out of bed and go to work and do what I love to do, and that's act. I'm an observer of people, and most actors are. You see something, a guy walks by, a little tick that he has, some nervous energy, some woman walks by something. Eventually, you probably would see that thing that I was most interested in some movie character that I'd play. And New York City, those kinds of things happen more often than anywhere else. The only thing I knew about movies, and only because I had an uncle who, we were quite poor. I had no father. I had a father, but he was nomadic, and he had 7 kids in the family. So there wasn't too much money to go around. We lived on what Italians call pasta fazool, and if anyone had a steak, it was my father whenever he visited, maybe once every year or so. My images were movies that I had seen. The reason we got into those movies was we had an uncle who was like an usher, and he would sneak us in. And I would see the serials, and I would see men like Wallace Berry, who for the longest period of time was my father. I would look at him, the image, that's my father. He looked, my father was a burly guy, handsome man. And then I made up images of my father because people would ask me questions like, where is your father? You know, he wasn't there. But I said, well, he's prison chasing. Well, what do you mean prison chasing? Well, he's taking prisoners from Cleveland to New York. I had no idea where I came from. And I only remembered to say that because when I saw movies, I saw people dressed with hats and raincoats, and they were always police officers. So I developed in my own mind that my father was this cop with a raincoat on and a hat, and he went to Cleveland and back to New York. And that was it. I got my images from the movies. I love the movies, but no time in my life did I ever think that I could accomplish what they do on the screen. I never thought it was possible. I thought those people came from Hollywood. Certainly not New York, because we're real people. They are not New York. Some of these days, you're gonna miss me, baby. Some of these days, you're gonna feel so lonely. You're gonna miss my hugging. You're gonna miss my kissing. You're gonna miss me, baby. When you're long gone away, well, I hope you feel lonely. And you want me only 'cause you know, pretty baby, you've always had your way. Say, baby, when you leave me, you know you're gonna grieve me. You're gonna miss your tall, thin Danny some of these days.
I used to come to New York. My father worked for a company whose main offices were in New York City, in Manhattan, and we used to spend every summer in New York. And from the age of 4 or 5, I spent a lot of time in New York in the summer months. So that was my memory of New York, was the reality of New York, not New York in a photograph. New York to me then, and I believe it's still true, was sort of the center of everything I thought was wonderful in show business, which was, you know, paradise to me. Being from Columbia, South Carolina, show business seemed unreachable. And New York was the center of it. Broadway shows, not just musicals, non-musicals as well. And everything about New York, it thrilled me. And coming here, the look of the city, it is a great city to look at. It's a remarkable city because of the rivers and the bridges, and that it's built on rock. So these buildings are tall and firm, and it never leaves me, the idea of New York City. And New York City, to me, I'm sorry to say, it's sort of stupid of me, but New York City is Manhattan. It's not the other boroughs, although I liked the other part of New York, but Manhattan was New York. I was still already alive when they built Radio City and the Chrysler Building, and I believe the Empire State. I was a child, but they were building the Empire State soon after I was born, and I heard all this talk. And New York had these remarkable architectural things about it, and it had everything I was interested in, which was the theater and the shows and wanting to express what you cared about. And it doesn't look like any other city, New York. There's true, other cities have bridges and so on, but it's not, the bridges don't take you to the center of the world. Everything is poured into this little place. I'm not a person who sort of plans. I believe that events carry me along, as they do almost everyone. and I take them as they go. And every time I've moved, it's turned out to be for good reason. But that's just luck. That's just chance. You know, I've lived everywhere. I've lived in Paris for 20 years. I've lived in London. I've lived in Los Angeles, New York, and I've made movies in Brazil and in Greece and everywhere on earth. And but New York is the center, the metropolis that takes everything that's happening in the world at the moment, and you're aware of it here.
Vara s-ar putea să se fi terminat.
What?
Dar nu vă faceți griji.
Guys, I have exciting news.
What is it?
La Warner TV, aventurile nu se opresc niciodată.
Want to try it?
Aventurile de marți. În fiecare marți la ora 20:30 la Warner TV. De data aceasta cu vacanță cu peripeții.